Hey everybody, this is Post-Production Pie with srlounge.com. Alright, so in this tutorial what we're going to do is we're going to take this image, we're going to apply one of our effects from our Mixology over here. Of course, we'll cover all the settings and everything, and then we're going to do some retouch work using the Lightroom 4 Brush Preset System. Don't got the preset system? No problem. You guys can pause the video, copy in the settings and everything like that. But for preset system users, this will show you guys just how powerful the whole preset system is. Let's get started, guys. So what we want to do with this image is we want to make it kind of nice and soft, want to have it pop, and we want it to kind of be good and just pretty in color and everything. And guess what? We've already set up a preset for that. It's the standard color soft portrait preset. So we're going to apply that right now. I'm going to dial in my desired white balance. I'm just going to pull this up a little bit. We're going to pull up the exposure just a titch. I want it to be nice and bright. I like some shots to be super bright. I don't have to do dark stuff all day long. Some people say I like the darker shots. Actually, whoops, I went to the next image. My partners are like, hey, we don't like how dark you make the skies sometimes. And I'm like, hey, I like it dramatic sometimes. But whatever. To each their own, right, guys? Okay, so this is great. Let's go over these settings. So we've adjusted our white balance. You guys should know about that. If you guys want a little bit more pinks in types of shots like this is really preferential, where it comes down to if you like it slightly more on the pink side, slightly more on the green side. You guys got to decide for yourself. And when it comes down to minor 100-degree differences, guys, it's a huge difference having a calibrated monitor and between monitor to monitor. Did I say that right? Monitor to monitor. So just because you have a calibrated screen doesn't mean it's not going to look slightly different on a different calibrated screen. So minor 100-degree differences here and there are to be expected. All right. So post-produce more on the safer side, whatever that style is that you prefer. So we dialed up exposure a little bit. I like to keep it a little bit bright because it's a little more flattering for the skin tones. Now for highlights, we've dropped them down. Same with the whites because we want to flatten out skin tone highlights. With the shadows, we're pulling it up a little bit. And with the blacks, we're pulling it down a tiny bit just to add a bit of contrast in our shadow, like our deep dark blacks. All right, with clarity, we're pulling it down to -10 because we want to soften again the overall mid-tone contrast in the image, especially over the skin. We go up to this side and we get this really harsh look over the skin where the highlights are all amplified. All right, vibrance, we're just leaving it at 15. That's kind of the standard import default for our standard import preset. And then with the tone curve, let's see what we got here. We've got just a light S-curve, just a very minor S-curve, adding a bit of contrast in the highlights and in the shadows. Once again, we do it with the tone curve rather than with the contrast slider because we want to have control over where this contrast is falling. And so that's kind of the benefit of using the preset system because it kind of tells you, where you want to be doing what, basically. If you want to be adding contrast with the tone curve or, you want to flatten out kind of the portrait highlights and everything like that. All right, let's go down to detail and let's check out the detail. We have a little bit of sharpening, just the standard sharpening going on. In our standard color soft portrait, we have a little bit of noise reduction, +20. Why? Because we want to smooth out the skin tones just a bit more. It kind of smooths out the fine kind of pores and stuff like that in the skin. Just makes it look a little bit more flattering. It's kind of a cheater's way of getting to smoother skin, but you know what? It doesn't kill much detail in the image, and it makes the skin more flattering, so why not? Lens correction, once again, standard, just 30-30, just to kind of correct and get even tones from edge to edge. That's it for our settings, guys. Let's start with the retouch. All right, so we're going to get started up here. We're going to use our presets from the Lightroom 4 Preset System. Once again, guys, if you don't have it, just pause the video and dial it in, guys. All right. So here we go. We're going to start with our skin softener. I'm going to increase the size. We're going to drag right over the face, down her lovely arm, all the way down to the bouquet, and then back up to cover her bust line and everything. Just get this all covered up. Okay, it's okay if you cover a little of the dress because what do? We just hold down Alt and clean up our mask. If you guys want to turn on the mask setting right now and just hit O, that's fine too. I'm going to do the same thing with his face just a bit because his face could use a tiny bit of softening as well. All right, we're going to hold down Alt. We're going to clean up the mask by just pulling it out of hair and clothing and any area that we don't want to be softened. And then we're going to clean up even better when we go through the close-up. All right, so let's just get the major lines corrected first. Okay, pull it off the dress, off these little beautiful flowers at the top of the dress. She had a gorgeous dress. It was awesome. This is the same couple that we used in the fireplace tutorial, by the way. All right. Okay, we're going to zoom in now on the face. I'm going to 2:1 just so I can see it really closely. Actually, you know what? Let's go to 1:1 for this part, and then we'll go 2:1 for the enhancement. So I'm just holding Alt once again, Option on a Mac. We're going to paint it out of the eyes because we don't want to reduce detail around the eyes. Off the eyebrows, off the eyebrows. Try not to uncover too much skin. If you notice on the left side, I actually uncovered a bit too much skin. We want to fix that. So I'm just going to let go of my Alt button and pull it right over the eyebrows again. All right, we're holding Alt, putting over the lips, bringing our detail back in the lips. And that's about good. I'm just going to clean up the edge of the skin. Whether you guys use a mouse or whether you use, like, say, a Wacom pad or Wacom, I think they pronounce that Wacom. I think I've said that before too. I'm getting this deja vu sense. But a Wacom pad or your mouse, whatever works for you guys, you know. I like my mouse better because I'm just more used to it. But I have a Wacom pad and it just sits there. I don't actually use it. Wacom does not sound right. I can't believe it's called Wacom. Can you guys confirm that? Can one of you tell me if it's Wacom or Wacom? I really like Wacom a lot better. Wacom sounds like whack-a-mole or something. Like a carnival game. Notice that this mask that I have right underneath the chin, we didn't do a super clean job. But if this were over, like, say, like over a dress or something like that, I would definitely clean it up. But since it's over the background, we're not going to notice it that much because the background is already, you know, we have a lot of bokeh in the background. Bokeh, bokeh. That's another one of those words that I just like the regular, you know, English normal person pronunciation better. Bokeh, bokeh. Why does it got to be bokeh? We get it all confused with the flowers anyway. Alright, so we got our mask painted in. Let's hit O just to turn it off. Let's make sure it looks okay, not too soft. We just want a nice softening setting. That looks fine. And looking at this right now, I see a lot of green still. So you know what? I'm going to tweak my white balance just a bit. Let's pull it up a tiny bit. Let's get the pinks out, or just bring up a little bit of pink so her skin just looks a little bit more lively. And then I'm just going to warm it up a bit too. So get a little bit more warmth in there. A lot of times, you know, when I'm zoomed in on an image, you can see, you know, the tonal range a lot better when you're really close up. So we see in this one that, you know, it was definitely on the green side. So I kind of prefer to be a little bit more on the pink side, but that's just me. All right, so we're done with our skin toning, our skin smoothing. What we're going to do is go to the next preset, which is line diminisher. And let's zoom in for this. What we want to do here is just diminish a little bit of these lines. If we want to remove them, well, to be honest, you never want to remove these lines because it will look kind of funny if you actually remove them all. But if you want to diminish them further than what we're doing now, then you'd want to go into Photoshop. But that's good enough for those lines. Let's see if there's any lines on the chest or anywhere else that we need to diminish. I don't think there are. We can diminish a little bit of this under the arm. This is one of those things that if you wanted to blow up or something like that, I would definitely recommend taking this into Photoshop and just kind of cleaning it up a bit. But we're not going to do any Photoshop on this because this is a Lightroom tutorial, guys. But we will later on. Alright, so that's great right there. Let's go back to our brushes and let me zoom in and let's just check out our detail. Make sure we're good on everything else. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to flip to our eye brightener. We're going to do a little bit of brightening. And again, we're going to be really careful to follow the natural highlight and shadows of the eyes. So there's a little bit of shadow coming off the top of the eyelid, and we're going to follow that. I'm going to pull it off the outsides of the skin so we don't cover any of the eyelid or any of this little corner. What is that little corner called? I don't know. Okay, we're going to hit new again. This time we're going to flip to an iris. Actually, we don't need to do an iris enhance because you can't really see her irises that much. Let's jump down to, let's do a quick catch light enhancer because this will actually look really good. So zoomed in at 2:1, or you can even go in closer at 3:1. What we're going to do is just go over that catch light. And this is just going to amplify a catch light in the eye just to kind of make it pop a little bit more. It's not going to be super powerful, and we don't want to drag it over the entire pupil. We just want to go over the catch light. And you can clean it up a little bit, you know, of course, by holding Alt and just kind of cleaning up the edges or however you like. We just want a subtle look. Let's check out our eyes, make sure we didn't go too far. The easiest way to do that is just to zoom out, look in the thumbnail, look in this side. If we see that the eyes are like popping, like if they're kind of jumping out at us, then we've probably gone a little bit too far. And I see a tiny bit of that. So I'm just going to select our eye adjustment. I'm going to have to zoom in to get that tool. There it is. And I'm just going to click down one click on exposure, and let's check it out there. All right, it looks good right there. If we got that alien glow thing going on, we know we've gone too far. All right, now with the teeth, my teeth, I'm going to just do a little bit of whitening. I'm going to switch to this whitening brush, and this is just going to, whiten up the teeth by pulling out a little bit of saturation, adding a little bit of brightening to it. Now, once again, we don't want to go too far with the teeth. If you go too far, it's going to look like she just went for 15 passes of Rembrandt's teeth whitening at her local dentist, and they did too good of a job. And her teeth are going to glow. So this is, I'm going to say that this is probably going to be way too bright. So let's zoom out. Yeah, that's way too bright. Her teeth are like glowing. Okay, let's pull it down a bit on the exposure. And that looks better right there. Just a little more whitened, subtle. We have the color kind of taken out of the teeth because we don't want really any color in the teeth. That's never a good thing. All right, so I think we're done with our retouch. Let's check this out. Yeah, we're good with our retouch. If you want to do a little bit of lip enhancing, you can zoom back in and just kind of pull this over the lips, and it'll just kind of increase detail. It almost like has this, I should call this lip gloss, because it looks like we're essentially just painting on lip gloss in post-production. That's what we should have called it. Lip gloss enhancer. All right. That's good. Once again, zoom out. Make sure that these effects aren't too strong. It's really difficult to tell when you're zoomed in super close because obviously we have a skewed perception when we're seeing that close up. So I'm just going to reduce a little bit of the contrast, a little bit of the clarity, and the saturation as well. More on the subtle side is always, the safer option. So we're going to go with that. Now I want to make her veil pop just a bit. So let's pick a detail enhancer. Let's pick our clothing and texture enhancer, and let's go and drag right over the veil and watch it just magically delicious, like Lucky Charms, just pop out. That's what, we're going to rename everything in the system. Instead of easy to remember and useful preset names, we're going to call it all Lucky Charms and magical and beautiful. I'm just kidding, guys. We're not going to do that. But it'd be cool if we had a preset system that was all based around serial names. If you guys can't tell, it's super late right now. I actually forgot to hold Alt when I was doing that. I meant to paint that out of the edge. It's super late over here, but I have to wait until late before I can record because it's too noisy in the office otherwise. I'm just going to clean up this mask here. We're just going to add a little bit back in on the edge. Once again, because the background is bokeh'd out, we don't need to worry too much about getting it flawless. What I do want to make sure I avoid is her skin. So let's just clean up the skin area a bit. And that is pretty much good. If we want to clean up this a tiny bit, that's fine too. Obviously it'd be easier if I zoomed in, but sometimes I just like to make my life more difficult. Alright, let's check that out. That's great. Her veil pops. It's nice. Now what I would always do with this type of an image is I would create me a duplicate. We do a little virtual copy by hitting Control apostrophe, Command apostrophe on a Mac, hit V to convert this to black and white. And you know what's even easier? Just hit your standard black and white, and it's going to make some quick adjustments. It keeps all the brush settings, which is awesome because we have all of our brush settings left over from the previous setting. We're just going to tweak the exposure a tiny bit, and now we have a nice black and white version of our image. So let's check this out, guys. We have the before version right here, and we have the after version right here. Cool. And then we have the before version of the black and white, and of course the after version as well. Now there's a lot of things you guys can actually, that's the before version showing the color. There's a lot of things you can actually do with the background. We could go further and maybe blur it out more. We can add detail more. You guys can, the sky's the limit. One thing I kind of want to do right now is, especially on this black and white one, I'm going to add a little burn to the edge. And the reason why is just because this edge with the stone right there is just standing out a little bit too much for me. And if I do a tiny bit of a burn, it looks like it's almost the same tone as the door. And I like that. I like it to kind of match the tone of the door. That way it doesn't look like it's basically jumping out at me. Because in the other shot, in both shots, because of that tonal difference, it essentially looks like this little wall right here is jumping out. It looks like I didn't do a good job with the cropping. But I did do an okay job with the cropping. It should be like right on. Let's check out our crop. Well, I missed the rule of thirds by a little bit. Should have been like right there. But whatever. Can't be perfect, guys. Can never be perfect. Alright, I'm just going to... Oh, I think I actually am painting up too much. Let me find that brush. There we go. I'm just going to paint over, and then we're going to hit minus, refine a bit, subtract a bit. Just want to match up the tone so that this side doesn't jump out at us. And that's great right there. As long as it's even toned from edge to edge, it kind of matches the door tone. It doesn't draw attention to that little crack along the right side. That's fine. The easier way to do that, you know what? This is the easy way. Hit R and do that. That's really easy. I'm just playing, guys. Actually, I kind of like that crop. I'll let you guys make those kind of decisions. All right, great job, guys, and we'll see you with the next tutorial.